Footage Effects has me waiting thin, to say the least, but it's finally done, which means it's time to render it out. New episode coming up. Stupid. Welcome to Rage FX, the place for newbies, indies, as well as low budgeters. This week we're building out a fully simulated rain effect and rain scene in Hitfilm thanks to this request. FunTube asked, rain effect please. Now if you're thinking rain effect is going to take the simulated rain effect and jump it into a timeline and Bob's your uncle over, episode clean, easy. Well, you would be wrong. Because today we're going to be using footage that looks like this and making it look like this. Yes, for this effect you don't have to shoot your footage outside. Instead, we're going to be taking a shot that is taken from the inside and making it look like it was taken from the outside. Think about that. Now all you need for this is to shoot your footage. Now I shot my footage on my widest lens, which is my 18 to 55mm lens, so I can get as much of the frame in, and we don't want to have two cinematic angles. We're not going to have a Dutch angle of a character right at the bottom of the screen with a low angle showing a power shot when it's supposed to be viewed from the outside. So I am not saying that you need a wide lens to shoot this, but try and shoot it as if you were actually shooting it outside. So what I mean by that is just try and get as much of it in and don't go too cinematic with your angles and framing because it is supposed to be outside. But other than that, let's jump into Hitfilm and I'll catch you there. Without further ado, let's get going. My footage, as you can see, is in the timeline and ready to go. Step 1. To sell the look of the camera being outside, and before we start adding any rain effects, we first have to create the window frame. So since it's supposed to be super dark outside, there's no reason to get super in depth. So let's click bend the plus icon and create a new plane. We'll then make it black and call it window frame. With that done, let's select the rectangle mask tool and draw a big square from one end of the frame to the other, like this. Then let's open the mask controls and select invert to subtract the mask. You can then scale, position and even adjust the mask until you get something that resembles a window frame. After that's done, let's just add a lens blur effect with a low value of 4 to 5 pixels just so it's not too harsh. Right, now we can focus on the main effect. Here I have this glass texture. Now you don't have to use this specific one, but if you do want it, the link is in the description. So let's drag it into our timeline, then scale and position it into place. We'll then set the blend mode to overlay and then set the opacity down to, let's say, anywhere between 5 and 10%. And we'll make sure that that layer is below the window frame. Okay, next up, water droplets. Let's create a grade layer and then place it below our window plane but above the glass texture. We'll then add the rain on screen effect. Here the settings are preferential. I set the droplet size as well as the amount to a lowish amount. I also added an environment map, which was just the standard nighttime moon and sky image. You can then also play with the scale and amount of that as well. When it comes to glass thickness and all those other displacement settings, I'd suggest not pushing it too far, but also not leaving it out. You're going to want to make it seem as if your footage is being distorted by the window, since it shouldn't be totally clear. To further sell that, let's drop a lens blur onto our footage and set it to maybe 3. We can then do the same for our rain droplets layer, just so that it's not too sharp. One more step that I want to do before we add our main rain effect is to drag that exact same nighttime still that I used as our environment map into our timeline below our window frames. Then scale and position it into a good spot, as well as set the opacity to a really low number. For me, I'll leave it at 3. Okay, finally, let's drag the rain simulation effect into our timeline above all of our other layers. Over here, I left the amount at a relatively even number, let's say 1500. I also shifted the color more towards solid white, but not fully there. I changed the direction to move more straight down and then adjusted the split a bit. And that's that. You can dive into the nitty-gritty details if it still doesn't look good for your shot, but otherwise that should be good. One more thing I did was add a blur effect to the rain simulation effect and blurred up quite a bit so it looks more out of focus. Anyway, follow all those steps, sing and dance in the rain, and you should end up with something that looks a bit like this. Now the reason we did this effect was actually because of a poll that I ran on Twitter, this poll right over there, and I asked if you wanted to see a rain effect or a cinematic color grading effect, and don't worry for all of you that voted for the color grading, that will be happening soon. But if you're wondering, hey, why didn't I see that poll? Well, that's probably because you're not following me on Twitter, and if you want to do that, do it right over there. That way you can stay up to date with everything happening in my life, everything happening behind the scenes of this show, and also take part in fun polls like that where you get to decide what effect shows up on the next episode. You can also follow me on my Instagram, which is also over there. Links are in the description, or just search those tags. They're really easy to find. And other than that, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time.